Welcome back to the Dynasty Arsenal podcast, episode 18. I am Sammy Stacks, joined as always by my good friend and co-host Tags. And Tags, we just passed Black Monday. And so my question to you is, who is the coach that you're most surprised got canned? And who is the coach you're most surprised didn't get canned?
I'm kind of surprised Stefanski got canned. Yeah. I thought, given their situation with having to work with Deshaun Watson for so many years, which didn't really, to me, feel like a Stefanski decision. Like, once you send that much capital for a player, that's 100% the GM and the owner. So I'm kind of surprised he got canned because he was working with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur this year, and they won more games than I expected, even though they didn't win many.
Yeah, that defense, I mean.
Yeah. So kind of surprised he got canned. Other than that, there weren't any coaches that I feel like should probably be fired. What about you?
I mean, yeah, I was surprised by Stefanski. I mean, there was rumblings about it, right? Obviously, Raheem Morris was the other one I was surprised by. I don't think there was really any buzz around that. He goes 8-9 his 2 years there. They dealt with Kirk Cousins off an Achilles tear, and then Michael Penix in his basically first season, right? And then he gets hurt. So that just seemed very weird to go 8-9 twice. They were a game out from winning the division this year, and they lost to the Jets. So like the Falcons were very, very close to being a playoff team. And speaking of the Jets, I would have fired Aaron Glenn. I know we had a little discussion about that a few months ago.
This. I don't think it's just good to fire first-year head coaches unless it's like, okay, there's something that's obviously very bad here, and also that if they have bad press conferences. That was the Gerard Mayo mistake, was that he was very bad and also very bad in press conferences. Once you combine those two things with being bad on the field and bad publicly, then you kind of need to get canned. Aaron Glenn was bad on the field, but I also don't think it was completely his problem. Like, true, he's working with Fields and a ragtag group that was put together on offense.
Yeah, the quarterback situation is a problem. I didn't like, he got in this weird argument with a reporter about the when he was talking about he had a competitive advantage to not reveal who the starter was, Fields or Tyrod.
That was not great.
The biggest thing for me is I believe, and I think I have this right, over the last 5 games, right? The Jets season is over. It's a first-year head coach, defensive guy, right? Jets famously the first team to ever not have an interception in a season. But they lost by an average of 26 points over the last 5 weeks. And to me, I'm like, you're trying to build some sort of culture. You're trying to get your guys to just go out there and play for you a little bit. And you're averaging almost a 30-point defeat every week. And now they have the second overall pick, Dante Moore. If he's going to be in this class, they look like they should be primed to select him. Yeah. I think I would just say, we got the chance to start over here, and I'm going to do it. But I mean, one and dones are not popular. Pete Carroll, obviously, this year. I think I would have fired last podcast when we were talking about Genty. We did talk about it, and he's gone. Yeah, there'll be a new offensive coordinator. They're probably going to take Fernando Mendoza. They're going to have a rookie quarterback in there. Hopefully, they need to just invest in the offensive line in any way possible. The Bears, I feel like what the Bears did last season is going to turn into one of these things where every offseason we're like, just do what the Bears did. As if it's like easy to trade for a very good offensive lineman and sign 3 others or whatever they did.
Yeah.
I think teams are going to try and do that, and it's not going to work. But they need to try, basically. On today's show, obviously last week we started grading the rookie class. We got through 10 names. We're going to try and get through, and a lot of these names won't need much discussion.
Even more. We're gonna flying today.
Yeah, we're gonna get through the end of the first tier, last 2 picks in the entire second round, and then some honorable mentions at the end who weren't top 24 in ADP. If you missed last week, we talked about Genty, Hampton, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Tedero McMillan, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Tyler Warren, Emeka Egbuka, and Caleb Johnson. So if you want to hear about any of those names, just once you're done listening to this, go listen to last week's.
So our plan is to double that today.
I guess so.
We're currently slated. I was going through. I believe we're slated for almost double. I think we're slated for 12 names. No, even more.
No, more than that. But some of them will literally take like 30 seconds.
18 names.
Yeah. So we can start with Colston Loveland, who ended up ADP of the 111. What grade did you give him for his rookie campaign?
I gave him a B-. What about you?
Okay, I gave him a B. I can, you go ahead.
Yeah, so he finished as tight end 19, which isn't great. But it's another one of those players where it's a tale of two halves. He started off very rough. He was not very usable for the whole first half of the season. But then the late season, he picked it up. He had 3 tight end 6 finishes. So much better the second half. He was actually useful for some games. First half of the season was like an F for me. Second half was like an A-. So I kind of landed on that B- for him for the season. What about you?
Yeah, so I think that, like you said, it's a tale of two halves. He sort of had a little nagging injury coming into camp. I think it was like a shoulder issue or something. But since week 7, he's had at least 4 targets in every game. And that's in an offense with a lot of competition, right? And it's also famously what's talked about a lot with Ben Johnson is that this is an offense that's pretty difficult to learn and that a lot of guys struggle with that. And so I think that, we talked about last week with Tyler Warren and Egbuka, these guys who was kind of the opposite. This is a normal rookie season, right? Where maybe they start a little slow. Cole Kmet is a perfectly fine NFL tight end. So playing behind him is nothing to be ashamed about. He's the 10th overall pick, and you expect him to step up, and through the end, he did. If you include week 18, from week 7 to 18, he had 4 top 5 tight end weeks, only 2 weeks outside of the top 24, and 6 out of those 12, he had at least 10 PPR points. So I'm happy with that. It's a young, ascending offense. Very stable quarterback play and very stable head coach. Obviously, the Bears are the 2 seed, and I worry a little bit about consistency from him. We saw with Ben Johnson in Detroit, it was really just a Mon-Ra, and you couldn't rely on anybody else season to season, right? Like Laporta had the good rookie year and then kind of dropped off. J-Mo is up and down. I worry that. And maybe we'll talk about a guy in a few picks here who also might have that same concern. But Colston Loveland overall, I gave him a B because I think he did enough in the second half of the year to instill some confidence in what we can expect from him going forward. We can move right on. At the 112, I think you're muted.
Hate when that happens. I'm not too worried about him. Next year, we're going to have the same questions as we did this year with how does his target share look like for next year.
Yeah.
But we're kind of all expecting DJ Moore to leave, and we've got a guy coming up that we'll probably talk more about for that situation. So
yeah, and I mean they got Odunze, Burden, and Loveland for the next 5 years. Looks really, really good for the Bears. So they're going to be a staple in fantasy for that entire time period. But yeah, at the 112, RJ Harvey, I gave him a B- for his rookie season.
Oh, we are very off here. I have my first A grade, and it only took us 12 picks in.
Wow.
I give him an A-.
Okay. I'm interested. I'll give you my argument, and I'm interested to hear where you're at with that. So ends on just over 12 PPR points per game on the entire season, which is good for running back 20. He was just like a handcuff plus when Dobbins was healthy, only averaging around 30% of snaps. And then he ends up with 3 top 12 weeks because of touchdowns. I remember I had J.K. Dobbins in the Flock League, and I was just raging week after week every time Harvey kept on getting all the goal line stuff. But he's had the majority of the workload for the last 7 weeks here, 15.2 points per game. In that span, lots of receiving work, which you really like to see. Sean Payton historically has liked multi-back systems more than just one guy getting, a good amount of the work. I don't know if I see Harvey as a workhorse long term. He doesn't really profile as it. He's a smaller guy. I could see the Broncos adding a free agent to complement him. That's more going forward. I think just on 2025, I would have liked to see him have a bigger role without Dobbins having to go down, right? It seemed like he was just this upside piece that you're waiting. He doesn't really do anything. You didn't start him any of the weeks that he scored those touchdowns. And then Dobbins gets hurt. Okay, now Harvey can see 60+% of snaps.
I think because most people that took Harvey were kind of expecting that, though. I think we were hoping for back when the Saints had Ingram and Kamara was playing 45% of the time. Ingram was playing 55% of the time. And Kamara was still putting up RB1 finishes. And we kind of saw that near the middle of the season. This whole Broncos offense as a whole felt like it took a little bit of time to figure out how they were going to operate and what their kind of on-field percentages were like for every player. And middle of the season, he started to pick it up. And then end of the season, he just like went on fire as soon as Dobbins went down. I think most people who took him at the 112 kind of figured this would be a punt year. We're just going to redshirt him, and next year was going to be the big year for him. And we got to see what he could do. He had 7 RB1 finishes, which is better than all the other running backs we've had in this first round. And we got him at the 112. So I'm pretty happy with him. He was a stud for the fantasy football playoffs, which is a big boost. And I'm excited next year for him because he has the receiving workload, obviously. If he can tack on 15 carries a game on top of the 6 to 10 targets a game, then I'm pretty happy with that. So for a 112 pick to be as useful as he was throughout the season, I think that factors a lot into my grade because the 112 is a lot of times once you get the end of that first round of rookie picks, you're getting into the territory of, is this player going to be useful or are they going to have a punt year? And this player I thought was just going to be redshirted this year and not very useful at all. And then he carried a lot of teams in the playoffs. So I felt pretty good with his finish, and I'm excited for next year because of that.
Yeah, I think maybe where I differ is just that I think my expectations were a little bit higher. Dobbins didn't sign until like deep into training camp. Dobbins was a very late addition, and I think I just expected Harvey to have a bigger role out the gate, especially with the draft capital being a second round pick. They needed him. Dobbins was fine, but Dobbins was not this like explosive anything. Right, Dobbins was a, 3.5 yard per carry, 4 yard per carry kind of back in this system, and I mean somebody who was relying on him in a very important league to me, he was like touchdown or bust, and was just giving you 80 to 100 yards on the ground, and Harvey was getting most of the receiving work. But I just would have hoped that being the younger, more explosive player, that he would have done more sooner and not needed that injury. Maybe I'm being a little harsh. He was a late first round pick. We just talked about Caleb Johnson, who obviously, if you took Caleb Johnson ahead of RJ Harvey, you're very upset right now. But I definitely see the Broncos adding somebody into this backfield. I'm thinking if they don't bring Dobbins back, a Rico Dowdle, do they add a big name? Does Sean Payton really want to juice up this run game with a Breece Hall or a Ken Walker or a Travis Etienne in free agency? So
that was going to be my point, is that like the pickings are going to be pretty slim this offseason. And if you're Breece Hall, you're going to get a bag because you're the prettiest girl at the ball. Yeah, everyone's going to be wanting to bring you into their team. Mm-hmm. I think, which we can do this in offseason predictions, but I kind of think Etienne gets extended in Jacksonville.
I agree.
So that's going to be a name off the market. I'm going to be so upset if Kenneth Walker stays with the Seahawks.
He needs to go. He needs to leave. I need him to leave.
He's a peacock. You got to let him fly.
We talked about him as a buy near the end of the season, and
it's funny because we both came to that buy concept at the same time. And I feel like we've had like a weapons race trying to acquire him in all of our
Dude,
leagues.
I had
And
nothing.
There's
Like,
so many times where you got a trade done for him. I'm like, crap. And then another league, I got him instead of you. So I feel like we've been like racing to buy as much Kenneth Walker as we can.
It's just because the upside is so high, like, and he's shown it, right? And I think that this is obviously not a Ken Walker themed episode, but it's just I was really low on him because I just didn't like the situation. Charbonnet's getting so much work, and so I didn't like Ken Walker at all this year. I had no shares coming into 2025, and now I have like 4 or 5 because I just bought him wherever I could. Rebuilders sending like I think I sent like Bill and like a projected late second for him in a league.
Yeah. There are a few leagues
know,
I picked him up for a second straight up.
Yeah, very. It's so really hoping he goes somewhere. We'll be watching free agency very closely. Moving into the second round, this name is one of those that shouldn't take us very long, and that's Matthew Golden, and I just gave him an F.
I gave him an F also.
5 points per game, good for wide receiver 97. Just terrible. He dealt with some injuries down the stretch. He only played 5 of the last 9 games. And in those 5, he only played 40% of the snaps in one of them. But, I mean, early season when he was actually playing, he had 3 games over 10 points. No touchdowns. I'm going to read you the list tags of first round rookie wide receivers to have 0 touchdowns in their rookie season. Kadarius Toney, Corey Davis, Mike Williams, John Ross, Kevin White, Josh Doxson, and Laquan Treadwell. That's the list.
Oof.
That's not a list you want to be on. I'm not going to lie.
Kadarius Toney mentioned gave me an instant jump scare.
Yeah, I mean, like Matthew Golden he played right out the gate.
Yeah.
Like week 3, 70% of snaps. Like he was playing, and they needed a receiver. When he got drafted, everybody said, oh, thank God the Packers haven't done this in 2 decades, and they're finally drafting a wideout in the first round. And, you know, he rose really late in the draft process. He was probably overdrafted a little bit. He was like a film guy. He didn't really do anything until the college football playoff run that they had in terms of analytics. But the expectations were high, and he fell on his face.
Man, he was a guy who balled out in that playoffs too.
Yeah, he was awesome.
I was hyped for him after that, and it was weird. He was a guy I was like really high on going into the draft last year, and I ended up with 0 shares.
I got 1.
And it's like, well, glad I dodged that bullet.
Yeah, it was the Caleb Johnson of
he's
the
almost
wide receiver position.
A reason why I like there's going to be a lot of these players in this tier list where I rank them lower because he's almost more, in a way, hurtful to your team because he showed flashes. In weeks 3 and 4 he scored 10 points in week 3, 12.3 in week 4, and then he has a bye week, and we're like, all right, there's a ramp up into the bye week. This is where he's going to break out. He's going to do great. And out of the bye week in week 5, after a bye week in week 5, he scored 13.2 in week 6. And a lot of people who had Golden were like, all right, now's the time. We've seen the ramp up. We had the bye week to get himself more involved. Now's the time where he goes out there and crushes. And then that just like never happened. There's definitely some people who started him for 2 or 3 weeks after that run where they got single points from him and actively tanked their team for those 3 weeks. And we'll see that trend a lot in this second round, where there's players where they flashed, they showed something, and then they vanish. They flash enough to pique your interest, and then they're gone. So it's going to be interesting to see what his role looks like next year. Is Dubs gone? Is he gone? Is he leaving for free agency? Is Reed and Watson going to step up? Watson looks like he's stepped up into the wide receiver 1 role, but can he stay healthy? Will his hamstrings not blow out every 2 games? And then Tucker Kraft might not be back for the start of next season. And even if he is, he'll need some ramp up time. So there's a big opportunity for him to capitalize and go out next year, establish a role for himself. It's just so murky there. And I'm kind of just avoiding that wide receiver room as a whole because for some reason they just cannot figure out a alpha wide receiver for him.
Well, yeah, it's so weird to have like 4 guys that you're all collectively just like meh on. And Christian Watson and Jaden Reed, they're both not there at the beginning of the year. Romeo Doubs is a guy that you've talked about that you had as your wide receiver 3 or as a low-level flex on a couple teams, helping you out at the beginning of the year. That's all it was. And Matthew Golden couldn't do anything. And that's the part that worries me is we'll talk about some guys later who didn't really get a shot. Matthew Golden got a shot. And no touchdowns.
He hit a shot all year. He was playing all year, getting snaps.
Yeah. So, disappointing.
It was strange because early on in the year, it seemed like he was getting open a lot and Love was just missing him. So that's why there's a part of me that's like, maybe they just need another offseason to get on the same page. Because there were like 3 different times earlier in the season where he's wide open 50 yards down the field and Love just misses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
there's also, I remember a play where Golden like had a touchdown and he thought somebody was closing in on him. And so he ran out of bounds and there was nobody and there just was nobody near him. It was like week 6 or 7 or something.
That play was wild. It's like, you had the touchdown, just run in.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was when we're just waiting for the touchdown and he didn't want it badly enough. So
maybe he's a buy in like best ball leagues, but in normal leagues, I just can't trust him.
That's the thing. I think I'm just like gonna just sort of leave it. I mean, see if I can get anything for him. The one place that I have him, I'm just gonna really quickly see where he's at. The keep trade cut is he's at wide receiver 40, so that's bad. One spot behind Alec Pierce.
I say weirdly enough, it feels too high.
Yeah, I mean he's ahead of Jaden Reed.
Because I would rather have Jaden Reed. I'd rather have Alec Pierce.
He's ahead of, this is insane. He's ahead of DJ Moore, which I'd rather a year of potential DJ Moore than what Matthew Golden's going to give you. I mean, wide receiver 40. It's just wild for a first round pick who had some pretty lofty expectations. At the 202, this is where my first A comes out.
Let's go. What'd you give him?
It's for my boy Jaxson Dart. I gave him straight A.
I gave him an A+. So put it on the record that I'm a bigger Dart fan than you.
You aren't. I should have done it. Wow. Yeah, no. I mean, he deserves it, honestly. In true games played, okay? So games that he started, because he did these stupid sub packages with him with Russ at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
23 points per game in a 6-point passing touchdown format. And that includes the game against Minnesota where he scored 0 points and had 7 completions. That would slot him as quarterback 7 in points per game on the year. It's just the rushing floor. He averaged 40 yards on the ground per game in his starts. There's 2 other quarterbacks to get within a yard of that number, and it's Justin Fields and Jayden Daniels. So in those 12 games that he started, 4 top 5 weeks, 8 top 12 weeks, only 1 game with less than 15 points. The floor is so high. And he did all of this with no Malik Neighbors, with Wan'Dale Robinson and Theo Johnson as his best options, only 4 games of Skattebo. The coach was fired mid-season. His supporting cast just consistently got downgraded over and over again. And coming into the year, everybody was like, this guy needs to sit as long as possible. He has to sit. Nobody in this class overperformed expectations more than Jaxson Dart.
Yeah, as soon as he started, his game logs were 21.8, 21.5, 25.6, 39.4, 21.4, 31.2, 26.2, and just kept on going. It was beautiful, and it was against good defenses too. 2 of those were against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he tore them up. And so funny because like he can have a bad game and you're like, it's a rough like Jaxson Dart game. Outside of the Vikings game, there are a few times where I'm like, Dart's not playing that well. And I look after the game and it's like, he scored 22 points for you. The rushing upside just gives so much of a floor. And I need to add this to my list of things I've learned. But at the 202, if he's a first round quarterback and he has rushing upside, why did he fall?
Tags,
And
I was
to be
the
fair,
proponent of this.
I have a lot of Jaxson Dart everywhere. So I think I at least was like 202. Why is a rushing quarterback who has first round capital still here? So I scooped him up everywhere where I had a 112 pick, a 111 pick, a 201. All of those picks, I just scooped them up everywhere. So I have them all over the place. And we need to be taking rushing quarterbacks who have first round draft capital. Even early second, like we'll get to Shough later on. It's just so easy to capitalize on that production and make bank from it. It doesn't take much for them to gain a lot more value compared to that 202 draft capital. So I'm hyped for them. It's only going to get better with Neighbors coming back next year, Skattebo coming back next year. They're almost guaranteed to get a offensive minded head coach because you have to focus on Dart if you're the Giants.
Well, you know what the big
Everything
rumor
has
right
to be
now
to help Dart.
The big rumor right now is Jeff Hafley, the DC for the Packers. So they're also going to look at Spags, the DC for Kansas City. So we'll see.
It's tough. It's tough for them because they also have Abdul Carter that they need to get going.
And teams often flip flop, right? And so they just hired a guy, or they didn't just hire him, but their most recent head coach was a offensive-minded offensive coordinator with no head coaching experience. I find teams don't normally go back to the same well again. They often go from one extreme to another. So we'll see with that. But I wasn't a big reason why he fell to the 202. I was somebody who wasn't taking him in the first round because I looked at the history of first round quarterbacks who did not go in the top like 10 to 12. Guys who only really were first round picks because the teams wanted the fifth year option. And it's like a really bad list besides Lamar Jackson. And I'm just looking at it like, okay, there's two things to look at here. There's, will this guy be a starter? Right? And what can he do for fantasy if he is a starter? The second one, Jaxson Dart had all of that, right? If he's going to start, if he's going to be good, he has the rushing upside, this guy's going to be great. But is he even ever going to be good? That's the question that I thought the answer is more likely no. And so I bit the bullet and I took Matthew Golden ahead of him. Or I took Caleb Johnson ahead of him. I didn't actually take Caleb Johnson anywhere, but I would have is what I'm saying. So that's something that maybe I need to learn is that like you said, it's all about the value. As soon as these guys get a starting gig, we'll talk about Tyler Shough, like you said, the value skyrockets just because they are going to score points in your superflex spot.
Yeah.
That's like that alone, doesn't matter how many points they score, that alone gives them value.
At that 202 price, literally all he does is need to start to gain value on top of that. Most starting quarterbacks are worth at least like a late first. And all you need him to do was to take the field. And especially given his rushing upside, which we all knew coming in, like, he's going to be productive to an extent. It could look like a Justin Fields game where
that's
it doesn't
the
look
risk,
good,
right?
But Justin Fields is a good fantasy quarterback. He's not a good in real life quarterback, but he's good for fantasy. And that creates selling windows to profit off of.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I'm completely switched. We'll talk about this on the learnings. This is definitely something that we'll bring up. But the selling window thing is key here. Because even though Justin Fields is bad, and we knew he was bad, even when he was scoring a lot of fantasy points, we knew he wasn't very good, right? He's scoring 22 fantasy points and he's passing for 80 yards. You could have sold him in that window. Justin Fields, it's just a value play taking these guys, and sometimes it's hard to click the button on a guy that you don't believe in. That's what I find difficult. I had no belief in Jaxson Dart whatsoever. And so it's really difficult for me to hit the draft button when I'm merely looking at it like, okay, if he hits, great. If not, hopefully there's a window that I can get rid of him. That's a hard thing to do, but I think I need to sort of grow and realize that that's the tough decision that you have to make if you want to stack value, which is what we are trying to do. So really excited for Jaxson Dart. I mean, Tags, I am as high as a kite on Jaxson Dart.
Hey man, I've been up here in the skies for Jaxson Dart.
Yeah, so I mean, he's a.
I think the earliest I took him was 108 in one of my leagues, and I'm happy with that. I just think quarterbacks in general, even if they're not guaranteed to start right away, or if they don't have top 20 draft capital, it's so easy to gain value using them. And these guys that fall essentially in the draft to the late first range or later, I am always scooping them up because it's so easy to flip them for profit. And I mean, their sell windows keep popping up too. Like Bryce Young has had multiple sell windows pop up after everyone thought his value was dead in the water. Mm-hmm. So I'm so hyped for Dart in the next year, and I'm currently struggling with, do I sell him now or not? Because he's already gained so much value from his draft spot that it could be a sell window, but also I don't think his production is a fluke, and I also think.
And I think he's good.
I think he's good, and the Giants love him. He is their culture right now. Mm-hmm. Him and Skattebo, so they're gonna build around him. He's gonna be starting all of next year, and I think there's a lot of safety, and there's gonna be his value could rise. Like right now, he's probably. I think we did it in our startup draft, where you took him like mid to late second range in startups. He absolutely has a skill set to become a top 4 pick. So I think there's even more room for its value to rise.
Yeah, I mean, Jaxson Dart currently, for anybody curious, is my 17th overall asset. And I think he has room to grow. I think all you need to see is more of this, and he keeps going up. Right? Because once people believe that he's good, that he's a franchise guy, it's going to be Drake May, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and I think there is a little bit of a buying window right now.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Because a few teams got burned from that Vikings game, myself included, where he scored, 1.2 points?
It depends on the format. It was 0 or 1. Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at Keep Trade Cut right now. He's 28 overall. Some of these rankings,
28 overall is so way too low.
Tags, he's behind Tet McMillan.
Yeah, I'm gladly swapping Tet for.
What are we talking about? Did I miss something?
And I like Tet.
Tet McMillan's the wide receiver 9. Why?
He was good this year, but yeah,
he had 1,000 yards. He was fine, but he was the 8th overall pick. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you better have 1,000 yards as a rookie. Yeah, okay, well, but
anyways,
conversation for a different day.
We already talked about Tet last episode.
203, Luther Burden. This is an interesting one. What did you give him?
I gave him a C.
Oh my God, you just love when a plan comes together. I also gave Luther Burden a C.
Look at that.
8.5 PPR points per game on the season. Wide receiver 58. The context here, he was a second round pick. Like I said with Loveland, comes into an offense that is constantly spoken about as being really difficult to learn. He didn't play more than 30% of the snaps until week 10. Now, maybe you give him a knock because Olamide Zaccheaus was playing over him. I would agree with that. But weeks 10 to 18, 11.4 PPR points per game. That includes his quote-unquote breakout against the 49ers in week 17 on Sunday Night Football. 27.8 points. He was the wide receiver 1 on the week. It's an underwhelming year, but I think a lot of people drafted him thinking year 1 would be that. Kind of the same way they did with Rome last year with Moore and Keenan. The same way people maybe thought around draft season with Egbuka, with Godwin and Mike Evans there. So having so much good target competition around him, right? It's not just there's people in the room. There are good NFL players in the room. He's got a huge bump in value over the last few weeks. I don't know if you've seen a lot of this, Tags, but people are calling Luther Burden a top 15 Dynasty wide receiver.
That's a little hasty.
It's a little rich for my blood, but I am very excited as a Luther Burden owner because he absolutely had the talent. It was like attitude issues, supposedly, that dropped him out of the first round. And I'm really excited to watch the Bears in the playoffs and see how much he's involved.
Yeah, he just was one of those players that just was not useful for an entire half of a season.
Yeah.
And finally put together a stretch near the end going 11, 15.4, 27.8. He needed injuries for that to happen, though. It wasn't until Odunze started having to miss games where he actually became productive. But next year, I can't imagine they add another wide receiver.
Oh, God.
That'd be so annoying if they added another legit wide receiver to this room. Like, let's just hyper focus on Odunze, Burden, and Loveland, please.
Sign Alec Pierce or something, and then let's just chill.
Yeah, some kind of deep threat. Give.
Yeah.
I don't think the Seahawks have extended Shaheed. Bring in Shaheed as a deep threat, just to loosen up the defense. But yeah, kind of depends on if DJ Moore leaves this offseason and what the opportunities look like for next year.
Which for everybody, I hope DJ Moore leaves because it would give Burden a bump.
Literally
it would
everybody.
Give Odunze a bump, and DJ Moore would have a better opportunity literally anywhere else.
Everybody wants this to happen, which means they're 100% going to extend him.
Oh my God. I think, and it's annoying because I think DJ Moore has another like fringe wide receiver 1 season in him.
Yeah.
It's the situation is just not great there. Like him and Caleb have never really clicked. And he should go wherever Justin Fields goes because he had a lot of success with it.
Yeah. It worked out well for him there. Anyways, at the 204. Good old Scat.
This one was so hard for me.
It was very difficult.
And I think one thing we differed on last episode was I looked at it like, what did I expect from them and what did I learn rather than what did they do for my lineup in terms of the injuries, like Travis Hunter and stuff. And Scat, that's what makes this Scat one so hard because I gave him a B+.
I gave him a B.
Okay. So we're pretty much on the same page. The first thing that I think goes into this Skattebo grade is the expectations.
Yeah.
Right? He's a 4th round pick, projected to be on a bad offense with either Russ or a rookie quarterback. Starts the season, at least week 1, splitting with Tracy, who did have a very good rookie year. But then his performance. If you take out his 12% of snaps in week 1, and then you take out week 8 when he didn't play the whole game because he got hurt, in those 6 games in between, it's a small sample, but 19.1 points per game, running back 8 over that span, averaging 96 total yards and a touchdown per game. He was awesome. Full breakout. Everybody's so excited about this guy. He's the biggest meme on the planet, which we maybe have to dock him for because we don't like meme. We don't like the meme value. We like capitalizing on it, but that's about it. And then the injury. Goes down in week 8. Doesn't help you at all for the rest of the year, obviously. And this is one that's not going to be very easy to recover from. It's a difficult one. Chris Godwin. I think this is the Chris Godwin injury, right? The ankle dislocation and everything.
Yeah, dislocated ankle, and he also had a fractured fibula. All reports and things that he's saying is that he's hoping to be ready by training camp.
That'd be awesome.
Which would be awesome. If he's not ready by then I have concerns for this season. But according to reports, everything is ahead of schedule, and he's optimistic to be ready by then.
What do you think about him long term? Like, I feel like a lot of people in the community are worried about the Giants replacing him.
With this season, with who?
I don't know.
And
I genuinely don't know because they still have
he's-
Tracy under contract too.
I think he's too important to their culture they're trying to build there.
I mean, there's no head coach right now, but
you want him on the field because him and Dart together fired up that offense every time they took the field together.
And you know what? With all the bad press that the Giants had because of the Saquon stuff and the documentary and all this, right? John Mara is probably very happy about, even if it's stuff he doesn't understand with Dart and Skattebo headbutting each other. I'm sure he's happy that people are talking about the Giants, right?
Absolutely.
I'm really excited.
So
I'm very high on him.
I think him, because I'm also a really big Tyrone Tracy fan. I drafted Tracy everywhere that season.
I drafted him everywhere, and then I sold him like crazy before the draft.
I think he's a legitimately good player.
Me too.
And I think it's beneficial for both that they are both used in the offense. I want Scat to take 20 touches a game and then have Tracy take 10 to 15 just to kind of split the workload. And if that happens, I'm not concerned with either of them because they're different flavors of running back.
And if the offense is good, they should both be able to be productive.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm pretty excited for Scat. This might be a buying window for anyone who's...
I absolutely think it is.
Although I think the buying window has passed. You need to buy him before the playoffs.
I
because
think
now it's like, well,
yeah.
I've already held them through the season. He's already done his damage to my team with not being started. So now I'm just going to wait until he does start this season because his value is going to go up. So I think it's going to be hard to buy him because I think you're going to have to send a late first for him.
I do think some people are worried about the injury, though, enough to have him down. Like,
I'm 100% sending all of my early seconds I have. If I have the 201, 202, 203,
oh, yeah.
any of those picks, I'm sending every single league. I'm sending an offer out to Scat to see just a vibe check. See if that player, see if that owner is like, well, I kind of want to be involved in this rookie draft. See if they'll take the pick for Skattebo if they're concerned about the injury.
Yeah, re-rolling it, right? Here's an interesting question. A guy that we just talked about that I think that I'm learning that you like quite a bit, RJ Harvey or Skattebo?
That's tough. I think Harvey, but they're close.
Okay, so you have it the same way Keep Trade Cut does. Harvey's RB 14, Skattebo's down at 17. I would take Skattebo, which is, I think I just really like him. I think I'm really high on this Giants offense. I think that, obviously you're not low on Skattebo, you just like Harvey more than I do. But Skattebo being behind,
if Harvey's my RB 14, then Skattebo's RB 15.
They're exactly. It's very, very close.
Basically tied. I think Harvey gets the nudge just because I don't have to worry how much an injury is going to impact him. I know what he's going to be next season, and there's no concerns of the injury. If Skattebo is going to be as explosive as he was before, any of those questions.
Moving over to the 205, and Tags, honestly, if you want, I think we can group the next three together because it's pretty.
They all have the same story.
Yeah, it's 3 second-round NFL drafted wide receivers that all did levels of nothing. Okay, so Jayden Higgins, Tre Harris, Jack Bech. Starting with Jayden Higgins, 7.6 PPR points per game. I give him a C-.
I gave him a D+.
Yeah, deserved. Really disappointing. The biggest thing that disappoints me with Jayden Higgins is that he was playing right away. And this offense was begging for another option outside of Nico. And it ended up being Dalton Schultz when Jayden Higgins should have taken that role. He had all the opportunities, similar to Matthew Golden. 6 games with more than 10 PPR points. He only had 1 week as a top 20 wide receiver. He's a good prospect, second-round draft capital, plenty of opportunity, and based on all those factors, he was really disappointing.
Yeah, I was really high on him coming out of the draft. For the Patriots, I wanted us to take Henderson, and if we didn't take Henderson, I wanted Higgins. I was going to be happy with either of those guys. Now I'm happy we took Henderson.
Dodged a bullet, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but I still think Higgins is good. He's kind of a Nico clone, and it's weird that he wasn't more productive. And even when his snap percentage grew as the season went on, he just wasn't useful for your fantasy team. You couldn't start him at any point during the year. So I'm optimistic for next year, but I don't know. I loved him coming out of the draft, and he just did nothing.
And we talked about Nico earlier in the year when he was really struggling because this offense just couldn't really throw the ball because the offensive line was so terrible. They sort of figured it out for Nico down the stretch, and he was very good. But Higgins, maybe they improved the offensive line, they improved the run game a little bit, and he's able to be productive in year 2. That would be the hope. The next guy at the 206, Tre Harris, 4.1 PPR points per game. I gave him a D-.
I gave him an F.
Okay, yeah, no, fair. The only reason...
I gave him an F for being absent because another player you could not use at any point during the year. It was just like... I don't know. He showed flashes, but I just don't trust in that offense that there's room for him to be productive. There's too many mouths to feed between Ladd, QJ, Keenan, Gadsden, and Hampton that like we're looking at him being the 5th option in the best case scenario. And obviously Keenan might be gone this offseason. He might get extended because he was pretty solid. But even if Keenan's gone, he's going to be the 4th option on that team. And then a team that doesn't have a ton of passing volume.
The only reason
I just feel like he's just kind of a special teams player for them, and that's it.
Which is so terrible to say a year out from taking him in the 2nd round. But the only reason I didn't give him an F is because of how much target competition he dealt with. Sort of like this is like a pity, not his fault D-. Okay? But he still averaged 45% of the snaps on the year. I think that's a lot more than any of us would have thought based on how irrelevant he was.
Yeah.
But I think that what was happening a lot of the time is Harris would be out there to block, and then Keenan would come in anytime they wanted to throw the ball. And it's like, oh, 3rd down? Okay, Keenan in for Harris. And then you leave QJ and McConkey. So not a single game with 10 PPR points. He did absolutely nothing for you and lost a ton of value. So this is obviously bad. I think that, he came out of that Ole Miss offense, which was a little weird with it's just air raid. It's not he didn't run a full route tree. He's an athlete. I think there's maybe some hope here. QJ fell off quite a bit. I thought Tre Harris would just replace Quentin Johnston, and obviously that didn't happen. So
yeah,
I mean, not much else to say with him.
He was I did not like his rookie profile. Mm-hmm. I thought he was just very meh. And given the offense he was going into, I avoided him like the plague. Like, I didn't take him anywhere. I have one share of him in best ball. Because I was like, for best ball, why not? I'll take the shot on a big play. But I was so out on him. And this is kind of what I expected from him this year. He's just more of a special teams guy. And then on special plays to just run cardio. He's just going deep just to lift the offense up, lift the defense a little bit. And that's basically it. So I think he's dead to me. I'm not trying to buy him anywhere. I'm avoiding
Well, yeah,
him.
I don't think he's a good buy. I don't think you can sell him for anything.
No.
And the one hope with Tre Harris for anybody looking for it is they took him with a 2nd round pick. They don't want their 2nd round pick to be thrown in the garbage. That's literally it. You just have to hope that they find something to do with him because they don't want that pick to have been a complete miss.
Keenan signed pretty late with them, didn't he?
Dude, he signed like 3 weeks before the season started.
Yeah, I wonder if
he completely missed training camp. He didn't want to go to training camp. I think he could do it again.
Well, yeah.
I genuinely think Keenan can do it again.
Why would you go to training camp?
Yeah, especially if especially the team that you've been on for 12 years.
Yeah. So I wonder if their plan was originally to make him the wide receiver 3 and have like more usage of him. And then Keenan came back and they're like, well, we want the stabilizing vet in the room to give Herbert kind of a safety valve. And they just kind of tossed their plans for him out the window.
The last guy of this little 3-pack, I did give an F, and that's Jack Bech.
Same, an F for me.
So obviously Raiders disaster, 2.6 PPR points per game. Never really got a true shot the way that Higgins and Harris did. Pete Carroll would rather sign and play Tyler Lockett than give Bech a shot. Now, is that a Jack Bech thing or is that a Pete Carroll thing? Pete Carroll obviously gets fired. Reports are that he didn't really mesh well with the general manager. The general manager drafted these guys, wants him to play the young guys. Pete Carroll is signing Jamal Adams and wanting to,
Clearly a disconnect between the head coach and GM here.
I really liked Bech as a prospect. He obviously came onto the scene pretty late, but was a good receiver at TCU. He was really good at LSU before that, in a room with like Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. Maybe, I would hope that the new regime, rookie quarterback, there's an opportunity here for a wide receiver 1, right? They don't have one. They have Brock Bowers, obviously, but they don't have any serious weapons in the passing game. They traded Jacoby Myers. So I honestly, if I'm ranking these guys, I like Jack Bech a lot more than I like Tre Harris going forward, even though the rookie season was a lot worse, because I would hope that this new situation can get something out of him.
Yeah, just another player that was not usable for a single game all season. And all the training camp reports kind of warned us about this, because all the reports were Thornton was taking reps over him.
Which also doesn't make any sense, because he's also a rookie.
Yeah, but he was buried on the depth chart. And one thing that I know about rookie training camp reports is that a lot of it's just trying to fish through to find what is bullshit and what's not. And typically when coaches hype up a player, it's just, you can disregard it. It doesn't matter. But I think you do need to take note when there's a lot of negative reports coming out of training camp.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this was one of those situations where it was just all bad vibes as soon as training camp hit. So maybe something we need to take note of next year is any negative reports coming out of training camp, because those usually have some weight to them. The positive you can just toss out, because coaches around that time just toss out compliments like candy to kind of hype up the morale of the players.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see his usage once, now that Carroll's gone, see what coach they bring in. Reports are that Spytek is staying, so Bech is still going to be in the same regime that drafted him, which will be hopefully positive. And maybe they try to overcorrect from this season and use him more to justify that draft class, because that draft class was miserable for them if they don't get some usage out of their players. It was basically only Genty that got playtime for them. They had 3rd-round picks that were not getting on the field, and that's just unacceptable in the NFL.
So for Bech, I hope that's just a Carroll thing, where he's just I don't trust him.
Yeah.
I don't want them. I'm not teaching guys. Carroll being such an old head coach, he's sort of we got to win right now. He's not thinking about development. Right? So that's the hope there. Moving to the 208. Bhayshul Tuten. This one's weird. My grade is I don't care, but I gave him a C.
Go put a IDC.
I did give him a C. I gave him a C.
A C is wild to me. I have him as a D-. So this is I figured this was going to be one of our biggest.
Oh yeah, we had I forgot about this. We had a conversation about Tuten mid-season, and not on the pod.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, a C is not good. I just think he flashed. And I just think he flashed enough, and Etienne's big bounce back in the Liam Cohen offense prevented Tuten from usurping him. Right, I was very vocal at the beginning of the year about my expectation that this year's Jags could look a lot like last year's Bucks, with Etienne being white and Tuten being Bucky in terms of, the inefficient starter with the late round rookie. Obviously, that didn't happen, and I think that the Jags should probably pay Etienne, and in that case, Tuten would be destined for handcuff purgatory. but I gave him a C because I think that given the expectations, a 4th-round pick being taken at the end of the 2nd round, and he flashed and he showed a little bit.
See, I feel like this is where we disagree because I don't think he flashed.
Okay, that's fine.
He had one game against the Chargers where he had 15 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. Even factoring in that game, he only had 3.5 yards per carry for the season. And he was usable or unusable basically the entire year. And my biggest thing, which we had a conversation about, was Cohen isn't one to shy away from starting rookies. There's no Mike Vrabel effect here where they got to earn their snaps. Cohen starts the best player available. And we saw that with Bucky because everyone is like, oh, Tuten is the Jaguars version of Bucky. But Cohen started Bucky his rookie year. By halfway through the season, Bucky took the starting job from Rachaad White and was getting the majority of the carries. Mm-hmm. And that never happened this year. Mm-hmm. He was only getting a bit over 3 yards per carry average throughout the entire year. He only had the one good game against the Chargers. And I don't know. He didn't pass the eye test for me on the field because he ran one of the fastest 40 times at the combine. He was supposed to be this flashy, explosive one-cut player. And I don't think he has the vision that Bucky has because Bucky can make the one cut needed to be able to find space in the hole and then shoot forward. And so many times Tuten just felt like he just ran into the line. He just doesn't have the same vision that Bucky has. So I think I have 0 shares of Tuten. I'm not looking to add anymore. I'm completely out. I think they extend ETN personally. And if they don't, they're going to bring in a Kenneth Walker type player. Kenneth Walker in this offense is going to be so sick.
Yeah, I think that, again, I don't think that Tuten comps to Bucky whatsoever. My thought process there was that ETN could comp to Rachaad White in terms of being inefficient and losing the job. That's where my confidence in Tuten came from, and ETN was just a lot better than Rachaad White was. So I think that just, again, a C is not a good grade. I just look at the guy. I gave Tre Harris a D- 2 picks before, and I just thought Tuten was better than that. And, a C when your expectations were pretty damn low at the end of the 2nd round tells me you didn't do much. So I think it's just a difference in that little margin of what he did show.
It was interesting because they dealt Tank Bigsby
that was another thing. That gave me some confidence.
Opened the door for Tuten, and then he just did nothing with it. Because
he was just a handcuff.
He got usage. He was on the field. He was getting 40% snap percentage and doing nothing with it.
Well, here's what Tuten was. Tuten was RJ Harvey before Dobbins got hurt. That's what Tuten did.
Yeah, I just don't. Even if ETN got hurt, I don't think Tuten's good.
Well, we'll never know, unfortunately. But Harvey did about as much as Tuten did before the Dobbins injury. Yeah, I think that's a fine comp, honestly. Maybe that's where my Harvey disdain comes from. But yeah, no, it's he wasn't good. He didn't help you, and I don't think he will lead this backfield next year, even if ETN leaves, because like you said, they probably bring somebody in. At the 209, Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams, I gave a D-.
I gave an F.
Yeah. Kyle Williams had 10 receptions.
There's a common theme here. As soon as we hit like the 205, it just dropped off a cliff. And
which I think is a lesson.
In terms of the player being usable, because Kyle Williams was not usable at any point in the season. You could not start him even as a back end flex. He's just buried on the depth chart behind Diggs, Booty, Mac Hollins, Pop Douglas. The list goes on.
Incredible players, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. So the star-studded backfield of Mac Hollins.
Dude, Tedero McMillan wouldn't play ahead of Mac Hollins. What are we talking about?
And the biggest question is like what this offense looks like next year. Is Diggs coming back? I think Diggs gets a contract extension. I think he wants to be here.
The legal stuff is a little weird right now.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I was excited for Kyle Williams. He's an explosive player. Another instance of maybe we don't listen to all the OTA and training camp hype, because Kyle Williams had probably the most hype possible from Mike Vrabel. All the reports were that he's explosive. He's absolutely cooking the DB room. He's just unguardable in the preseason, and then he's just not used. And he had that one incredible touchdown catch, and outside of that, he's done nothing this year.
Yeah, so, he had three long touchdowns, which is the only reason he had any relevance.
Yeah. I think if you can get him for a early third, I'm absolutely buying him.
It's probably worth
late
it.
Second, especially in this draft class, a late second for Kyle Williams, I'll take it. Just on the shot that Mac Hollins and Diggs get out of the way, and he can fight for that kind of established wide receiver 2 role in that offense.
We talked about when we were doing buys and sells, I think, mid-season, about how, like, we don't care about these seconds. Like, these late seconds, they don't... The odds that you hit on something,
this,
like, and the fact that we just listed...
list
we just went through, after Skattebo, Jayden Higgins, Tre Harris, Bech, Bhayshul Tuten, Kyle Williams. And it's not getting better.
Oh, no, it's getting worse before it gets better.
At the 210, Jaydon Blue. D-, F, whatever you want to do. F probably. Yeah.
He didn't even show up for the quiz, you know.
He had 16 carries in week 18 and he looked pretty good against the Giants. That's the only reason I gave him a D-.
Which a lot of running backs looked good against the Giants this year.
Yeah, low expectations, but wow.
Yeah, there was another unusable player.
The Cowboys had like this ambiguous backfield a little bit coming into the year where Javonte hasn't been good. So everybody's like, okay, what's going to happen here? Is it going to be Javonte? Is it going to be Miles Sanders? Remember Miles Sanders had a little bit of preseason hype. But Jaydon Blue was hurt, but he also got healthy scratched a bunch. So he only played in 5 games. Disaster of a pick.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't even an active player on their team for most of the year.
No, he was a practice.
He was practice squatted. Yeah. So he's just toast. I think Javonte gets the extension there.
But these are the shots, honestly, that I like to take here, especially like in a class like this. Like, if you took Tyler Shough, or we're going to talk about Mason Taylor next, okay, sure. Other than that, I want to take the shot on the running back that has a chance to do something, right? In an ambiguous backfield. It didn't go well this year at all. All the ambiguous backfields. ETN came back, took over. Javonte took over. So didn't go well this year, but I'm going to keep shooting because the Buckies are out there. And
that's all you. See, I just I wasn't a huge fan of Jaydon Blue coming out of the rookie draft.
Yeah.
So unless I love the running back coming out, I'm not taking those shots. Like, I'd rather take a shot on a quarterback that can hopefully get some starting time, which we're about to cover. Mm-hmm. Or a super young receiving upside tight end, that kind of. I'd rather take a shot on that than these guys. So, anyways,
a guy that you did take a shot on a bunch. This is one thing I noticed around rookie draft season. Tags, just every single draft, I get the little notification. 208, Mason Taylor. Oh, yeah, there are tags on the clock.
Every time you made a comment in one of the drafts, you're like, again. I'm like, you bet.
He's just taking him everywhere. Well, what does he love Mason Taylor so much for? But yeah, I gave him Mason Taylor a B-.
I gave him an S+. You know, we're making a new ranking.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. I actually gave him a B-. So
okay, so we're on the same page. The season was not like good production-wise. 6.8 PPR points per game. Good for tight end 31. He had some usable weeks at the start of the year. This is why I like Mason Taylor. He was the week 1 starter immediately. 3 top 12 weeks in the first 8. This passing offense was just atrocious. Garrett Wilson led this team in receiving yards despite only playing in 7 games and having 0 yards in one of them.
That's
Look. Justin Fields was a theme on this pod this year, and this was just really bad. I think that Taylor did literally as much as he could with the opportunities that he had. I agree.
Because, like, even watching those games, the amount of just targets that were just, like, airmailed weren't even catchable. I think he did as much as he could with what he was given. And he had a stretch where he was fairly useful on on tight end premium. He had a stretch where he scored 8 points, 14, 22.2, 16.9. And I obviously loved his draft profile coming out. Mm-hmm. He was incredibly young for a tight end, and he had really solid receiving upside that I loved. He looked like a little baby Gronk out there to me. And I took him everywhere because I just love the receiving upside. I love the youth. And a lot of times, I took him everywhere expecting this to be a redshirt season because tight ends take longer to get running than most players. And given how abysmal that passing offense was and the total volume of passing yards available, I was pretty happy with his involvement. And God, I hope they are somehow able to wrangle the 101 away from the Raiders to get Mendoza, because Mendoza in this offense is going to make me so hyped for Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think it's happening. I think there's no way that the Raiders are giving up that first overall pick. But I think we can be excited about Dante Moore as well, if he's in this class, which I think that he is. We obviously don't know for sure.
If he has, we'll talk about this in our rookie preview episodes for sure. But if you have top 5 expected draft capital, how do you not go to the NFL? So much can happen in a year. He could get a bad injury.
And also,
offense as a whole could just take a step back, especially since they're losing their head coach. Why would you not declare if you have top 5 to top 10 draft capital expected?
I have seen reputable people, namely Todd McShay. Okay? Todd McShay, big draft guy, big college guy. And he said that if he was in Dante Moore's camp, he would call the Jets. He would ask if the Jets are interested in drafting Dante Moore, and if they were, he would go back to college. And I'm like, okay, I get that they've had a bad history with young quarterbacks. Okay? They also drafted Zach Wilson. Was Zach Wilson a Jets problem? I don't think so. Sam Darnold obviously was. But this team, they have a better offensive line than the Raiders. I would argue the weapons surrounding them are
I wouldn't even
a little bit worse.
I feel like
I'd rather have Genty and Bowers, but Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall is not that far behind in terms of an environment for a rookie quarterback. Garrett Wilson is an elite alpha wide receiver. He just hasn't had the quarterback play to produce.
Hey man, and they got AD Mitchell now. So
dude, if I'm like Fernando Mendoza right now, I'm pissed that I have to go to the Raiders instead of the Jets. Genuinely.
Yeah, I'd rather I would prefer the Jets situation.
Are we really talking about the voodoo of the Jets quarterback? But why are the Jets bad, Tags, this year?
Fields.
The quarterback. They're bad because of the quarterback. So Dante Moore, you are going to fix the problem if you are good. The problem is not what's around the quarterback. The problem is that they started Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor and Brady Cook.
Absolutely.
So
the amount of times I had to resist doing the Todd.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he should come out, and I'll like Dante Moore on the Jets. I really will.
Yeah,
I think it's a good environment.
Absolutely.
They have one of the best young offensive lines in the league.
A little sidebar. this rookie draft, I'm gonna be stressing the declares because now there's talk about Carnell Tate with his tweets about how he's not done yet, and
Are you
everyone's like,
serious? I
everyone's
didn't
like,
see this.
yeah, Carnell Tate after that
Oh
loss
my
started
God.
tweeting. Now he's like, don't worry, fans, I'm not done yet. All this stuff, and all the comments are like, dude, go to the NFL, ball out, man. But now there's talk about Carnell Tate returning, and if Dante Moore doesn't declare, like, so much of the elite end, which is already pretty thin in this draft, might drop out. I'm stressing the declaration date because I'm just like, I hope these players declare, or else it may be like if you have a top 3 pick, you're cool. If not, you have a lot of dart throws that you're not very comfortable taking. And it's gonna be funny, like if that happens, does someone trade their 27 first for the 107? Because 27 first are already through the roof on value.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's gonna be some weird deals getting done where it's like, oh, I traded the 106 for a 27 first.
Here's the dumb thing about that. For anybody who has heard anybody say 27 class is better, that is because of one guy. Genuinely. Like, people are talking about 2027 class like it's going to be this incredible, great thing. Maybe it will be. But the only person we're sure of right now, part of that was Arch Manning. He was awful for half the year. It's Jeremiah Smith. That's why. And you know what pick you're not getting Jeremiah Smith with? Any pick but the 101. So don't trade for don't trade your 107 for a projected 111 next year.
And even
because the 2027 class is better.
Even Jeremiah Smith isn't a sure thing because Marvin Harrison Jr. was supposed to be a sure thing.
Exactly. Jeremiah Smith is probably a better prospect than Marv. I mean,
Which
the guy was like the best.
The guy
was like the best player in the country as a freshman.
Yeah.
But even then, nothing is guaranteed. So if you can get the 101 next year, I do that. But other than that,
good luck.
But getting back on track here, the 212. We have the 212, and then we have a few names that didn't get drafted in the top 24 of ADP, but we want to touch on because they had decent rookie years. But the 212, Shedeur Sanders.
Was Shedeur really 212? I feel like
that's what I found.
I think all of our leagues, we're just playing with people that are just ahead of the game because every league I looked was like Shedeur at the 312, the 309, 310.
Which is probably where he should have gone.
Yeah.
I think that people just the hype, he was supposed to be a first round rookie pick, right? Like that's what people were expecting. Yep. They thought he was going to be a first rounder, and obviously that went insanely.
Anyways,
but in 7 starts,
what
15,
is your grade real quick?
I gave him a C.
Okay, I gave him a B.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I think that's fine. In 7 starts, 15.2 points per game, but that's carried by the blow-up game against the Titans.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever looked particularly great. The expectations were obviously very low because he started the season as the quarterback 3 on this roster, which is bad. But he performed about how I would have expected once he did get a chance. It took a trade and an injury for him to get a shot. But then they did choose to keep him as the starter after Gabriel got healthy. The reality is, I just think that he's going to be replaced. I don't think he has a future as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Yeah.
It's just going to be tough for them to replace him because they're picking
that is
6.
True.
So
there's some options out there, though. Kyler,
there are some options. Maybe Cousins gets out of the Falcons, but also maybe Cousins gets the starting gig there and they get rid of Penix.
Who knows? And there's going to be a new head coach. We don't know. I think, Stefanski's the happiest man in the world right now that he's out of there. By the way, future Titan, Kevin Stefanski.
Calling it right now.
I would love that so much.
I gave him a B purely because getting a starting quarterback with a 212 pick is pretty decent. You don't have many expectations for that pick. And like I said, most of my leagues, he was a mid to late 3rd. So getting a starting quarterback for that draft capital, I'll take it. Didn't look great. He had 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. And one of those 3-game stretches, he went for 0 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
That's bad.
So it was pretty rough. It's just gonna be interesting to see what they decide to do, if they decide to run it back or try to figure out a new quarterback situation this offseason. I think that's gonna be one of the biggest storylines around the Browns.
The quarterback carousel is always fun, and I'm excited for this offseason with Tua potentially out in Miami, with Kyler potentially out in Arizona. All that should be interesting to talk about. But we've gotten through
Geno
our
Smith,
top 24
future, Cleveland Brown.
We've gotten through our top 24. Now I just have 4 other names. I don't know if you have any on top of that, tags to mention. The first being Tyler Shough. I think he deserves like an A-.
I gave him an A+.
Yeah, the return on value here is huge. Almost 20 points per game in his 9 starts. More points per game in his 9 starts than Baker, Jordan Love, Stroud, Darnold. He just way overperformed expectations for a second-round pick. And his prospect profile was so weird. Like, he's so old. He
7 years. He started for 7 years in college.
His freshman year, I believe he was the backup for Justin Herbert. Which is very, very funny because Justin Herbert was drafted in 2020?
Yeah.
But yeah, do the Saints have their guy? I think they might have their guy.
I think it's almost guaranteed he starts next year.
Yeah, they don't have
picking
like they're picking
overall.
8th, yeah.
And they have if Shough is playing has played well enough where I think they have more important needs to fill in the draft rather than replacing a quarterback who played pretty well for you. And he went for 2,384 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and also added 186 rushing on the ground and 3 touchdowns.
He can move a little bit.
He can move, and he's 6'5" and 220 pounds, which is like the optimal quarterback build. If you're building a quarterback in Madden Simulator, that's the build you want. So I think they got their guy. His games since he started in week 9, 12.2, but it was against the Rams. Everyone does rough against the Rams. But then he scored 26 points, 9 points, not that great. Then back up to 22.3, 22.2, 20, 19, 27, 25.
Yeah,
to finish
super
out the
solid.
year.
Super solid.
That's incredible for fantasy football. I love that. So the fact that you got a quarterback with that production later than the second round, it has to be an A+ because that's absolutely the best possible case you could expect for that pick.
Yeah, and this is another one where I didn't take any Tyler Shough. I didn't really take any because I was just like, this guy, I mean, this seems like the desperation swing of desperation swings. This guy's like 27 years old. They're taking him in the second round. And he didn't even win the camp battle.
Yeah.
So, but now, I mean, I have him sort of like in the very low level starter tier. I think you might be higher on him than I am, but like I have him around like Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold because I think that like
that feels right.
I think his ceiling is like a guy who you probably want a third quarterback. Like you want to be rotating him and somebody else in your super flex spot.
Yeah.
You want him as like your QB3 because he's not even young. Like, okay, he's young, but he's 27. He's the same age as Sam Darnold. Like that, isn't that insane?
That's wild. Because Sam Darnold feels like he's been in the league for forever.
And yeah, Tyler Shough is just a spring chicken.
Yeah, he's. I think I'm going to be buying him a lot this offseason. Because if I'm in the early to mid second round, I think I'd rather just bet on him being actually decent than a lot of these options in this draft. So I imagine I'm going to be picking up some shares this offseason. I'm probably going to be sending out a lot of offers for my seconds to try to see if I can pick them up. And it's going to be interesting to see what his actual price will be for those.
Yeah, I mean, he's right now he's a spot behind Bryce Young, which I'll take Shough. But he's ahead of Daniel Jones. He's ahead of JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, Kyler. Yeah, I think I'm excited for the future. He should. I hope that he's just a solid starter for a long time. The next guy here, Harold Fannin. I give Harold Fannin an A minus.
You're stingy with your A pluses. I gave him an A plus.
Yeah,
That's two A pluses in a row for me.
Yeah, he just wasn't like he wasn't insane. Like 11.65 PPR points per game. Good for tight end 11. 5 top 8 weeks. What I like is that he really showed that he can be the power slot option that he was in college. Right? He can do exactly what he was billed to do.
And he was their best receiving weapon as a rookie.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There just wasn't a lot to go around there, and maybe that's like the Mason Taylor thing where I should give him more. But I'm giving him an A minus. He still was great.
I can correlate his games where he wasn't as great to being bad quarterback play. Yeah. And he was one of my highest exposure rookies because obviously people know him. He set the receiving. He led the college NCAA in receiving as a Bowling Green tight end. And yeah, it's Bowling Green. Shout out Ohio. But when you have that many receiving yards and that production as a tight end, you kind of have to take notice because he's still cooking DBs. He's still cooking safeties, linebackers. And he was used as a wide receiver a lot this year. They used him out of the slot a lot. He just creates so many matchup problems for defenses, and he's only 21 years old. He's so young. So we're gonna do picks or players episode of the pod later on, and I'm gonna be trying very hard to move my back end first for Fannin this year, and I think a lot of those you can get the deal done with possibly a plus on the Fannin side, because I think some people may be trying to cash out on the first year production, and if they drafted him as a mid to late third, they're probably gonna be pretty happy if they can get a 112 for him. So I think I'm gonna be buying him a lot. His stretch to end the year, he did 12.8 points, 29.4, 15.5, 21.5, 12. He was super useful for teams, probably won a lot of teams some ships, and I'm all in on him. I just think he's so good, and he's going to be the focal of that receiving passing attack next year.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what that looks like, obviously, because I think both of us anticipate an attempt at a quarterback change. There's going to be a change of head coach, so we'll see we'll see what they do with Njoku as well. Fannin obviously doesn't profile as like the inline guy, so they'll need to have somebody for that. But
yeah, I'm not even that worried if
he stays. I think that they can run. Yeah, they can run.
He just plays such a different role than Njoku does.
Yeah, he's just a power slot, right? He's a big slot receiver, and you can have two tight ends on the field all the time if you want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Rams played 3 tight ends for the majority of the year.
A few more guys here. Woody Marks, I gave a B.
I also gave a B.
Yeah, not much to say here. Week 3 onwards, over 10 PPR points per game. He had 5 weeks in the top 24. I just think he did perfectly fine with the opportunity, given that he had 4th round draft capital. Nothing crazy, nothing super special. He was hurt I think he had like 11 games in a row where he left with an injury. But I think that the Texans probably look to replace him going forward.
It's weird because he wasn't used in the passing game nearly as much as I thought he would be.
He profiled as a receiver.
Yeah, but he only got 24 receptions on the year. And obviously the biggest question is, does Mixon return? What the heck is happening there?
What a weird situation.
What a weird situation with zero clarification. Like, no one knows the injury. No one knows the situation.
It's just something with his foot. His foot's messed up.
He's just mysteriously been missing all year.
He's seeing these like special doctors. I heard he was like in Germany or something, seeing like a specialist.
Yeah, I think he went to the same doctor that Christian McCaffrey went to.
There you go. Another running back, my guy, Kyle Monangai. I gave Kyle Monangai a B.
I gave him a B minus.
Yeah, just under 10 PPR points per game on the season. Obviously, a lot of my Monangai love is a projection of what I think that he will be, not necessarily what he did this season. But he was over 4.5 yards per carry on the year. He averaged just under 1 carry inside the 5 per game week 7 onwards. I think Monangai in his future has a 16, 17, 18 touchdown season like a Jamal Williams, like a David Montgomery. I think that that's in the cards for him. 70 yards per game, week 7 on. I just think he's David Montgomery light, and he was a 7th round pick in the draft, and I got him on waivers in a lot of leagues. And now he's being ranked as like a top 24 running back in Dynasty. So
yeah, I feel like Monangai was like everyone's, well, I got a late 4th pick. Might as well take him. He was kind of just that player. But same thing as Marks, he just struggled to put together multi-week production.
yeah.
And you just could never start him because he'd have one good week and then he'd just kind of vanish again. But I'm curious what his role looks like next year, and see if he takes up more of a work percentage than he did this year. My feeling with Monangai is that I think he's a better NFL back than he is a fantasy back.
Sure.
And I'm not entirely sure he gets the volume to ever be useful in fantasy. But I think he's a good running back. So there's a weird disconnect there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's going to be guys like that, right? It's like a non-rushing quarterback. It's like, okay, this guy can be great, and then he's just doesn't matter for fantasy. So I think that there is more in store for Monangai going forward, but as of his rookie year, he didn't do a ton. The last guy, I know that I put him in my little message to you that I sent. I sort of then took him off my list because I refuse to acknowledge Oronde Gadsden. That's what I'm doing.
All right. I'm just going to put refuses to acknowledge acknowledge existence as your grade.
This guy just he has this 4-game stretch where he's incredible, right? And then he just did nothing.
Yeah, 15.3, 33.9, 22.2, 14.3. And then after that 4-game stretch, he only broke 10 points twice for the entire rest of the year. It's so confusing. Like, what happened?
What happened both times is what I want to know.
His snap percentage dropped down to the 50 to 70% range. And for that 4-game stretch, his snap percentage was 75% plus. So there's got to be some correlation with how he was being used in packages. I don't know if Will Disley started taking some more shares or what was happening there. It's just so bizarre.
Nobody missed any time. Like, QJ missed a game.
Yeah.
Ladd was there the entire time. I genuinely don't know what was going on, and then it just fell off. So, I mean,
I gave him a B plus for what it's worth.
I think he's a jag. Like, I just don't think he's ever gonna be somebody. AJ Barner can have a 30-point week randomly. I just don't think that Gadsden is a guy that's gonna be relevant in fantasy. I think he's going to be one of these guys who is just forever a streamer, and I just don't see a lot of value in that.
See, I like him.
Yeah,
I'm optimistic for next year. I think he's a good receiving threat for them, and they've been needing a tight end receiving threat because they haven't had one in multiple years. Chargers haven't had one since Hunter Henry, and even then Hunter Henry was off and on. So I'm optimistic for next year. I bought him in a lot of places this year, so I'm hoping he's productive next year for the sake of
how much of this faith is
because I need him to be productive.
Desperate hope.
Oh, it's pretty. At least 80% of that is just because I would like a return on my investment. But I do like his skill set. And earlier on, he showed a really good knack for block and releasing. he had a really good knack for zone blocking. And then I feel like he kind of took a backslide on that because he started whiffing on some blocks later in the year. But during that 4-game stretch, like I was watching some tape on him and he was zone blocking perfectly. He was doing block and releases perfectly. So I'm hoping just having another offseason where he can work on that and get more affiliated with the offense and get more reps underneath him. I'm hoping he can just come out next season, establish like an 80% snap share, take over the true tight end 1 role in that offense, and hopefully become more of a receiving threat because I think he has a really good receiving profile as a tight end.
Yeah, I think it's all completely fair. We're just not gonna. We're just. There's gonna be players that one of us likes and the other one doesn't. You know.
And that's fantasy.
That's fantasy. That's what it's about.
And I can give you shit for your takes, and you can give me shit for my takes when they don't work out.
Exactly. Oh, I can't wait. This time next year, I'm gonna be roasting you for Oronde Gadsden having a terrible year.
And good thing neither of us like Justin Fields this year, right?
No, thank God. Because that would look terrible, and nobody would want to listen to anything we have to say if we like Justin
Thank God
Fields.
that's not saved on a podcast somewhere.
Just imagine this. Imagine there was a guy who, at the beginning of the season, said that he was excited for the Carolina Panthers, and then they made the playoffs. Imagine how excited you would be to listen to that guy. So,
and here we are.
That's all I have to say about that. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. I don't know. We haven't really decided what we're going to do next week, but we've talked about the learnings episode a lot. So I think maybe we'll do what we learned.
We're about to get all introspective about
That's
our
gonna be fun. I'm
fantasy
excited.
football experience.
A little post-mortem of the 2025 season. That should be fun. But yeah,
I feel like that's a good way to wrap up the season and then move on to next year.
I like it because this is like a recap of the rookies. Then we'll do a recap of sort of everything we learned, and then we get into the off season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Put a nice bow on this season.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Hit the like on the YouTube. Hit the subscribe on the YouTube. Leave a comment. Love to get a conversation going in there. Follow us over on Apple and Spotify as well. The podcast is there. Leave a review. Please and thank you. And we will see you all next week.
See you next week.